Paradise, and today's video is Rat Essentials. The first essential you will need for rats is companionship. You must have 2 or more rats, never one. Rats are very sociable pets and need their own companionship at all times. If rats are alone with no companion, they'll get very lonely and can get depressed, which can lead to stress. There are so many things that rats are limited to do without a companion. They can't snuggle together, play together in their cage, groom each other and be able to do rat things with each other that you as a human won't be able to give them. So it's vital they have a companion. Now there are some people with rats that have rats that don't get on with other rats and fight aggressively towards them. This is quite rare, but this still can happen, so in these conditions it can take much longer to happily bond those rats, but just make sure you get 2 or more. That's the first essential. Next essential is a large cage. The minimum recommendation size for rats is 80 by 50 by 60 centimetres. This is the absolute minimum. Do not go under this size. Ideally you should have a much bigger cage than this, especially if you're having more than 2 rats. You should have 2 cubic feet per how many rats you have. The bar spacing must be less than an inch, as rats can easily squeeze through any space bigger than this. If you have a too big bar space, then I suggest you mesh all over the bars to prevent your rats from escaping. So for example, if you're going to use cages like ferret and bird cages, which are perfectly suitable for them, then I would suggest meshing all over the bars because they tend to be quite big bar spacing for rats. Now depending on how many rats you can have in your cage, I recommend going on Google and searching rat cage calculator and type in the dimensions of your cage, and that will give you the number of rats you can have in your cage. I'll leave a link to it in the description so you can go check it out. There are some things you need to consider when getting the cage. It must be able to fit all the basic supplies, plenty of ground space and height space for your rats. Look for great length, good width, but very good height. But always remember, the bigger the cage, the better. Another essential you will need is a large food bowl. Rats are fairly large rodents, so need large food sources. The 2 types you can buy are plastic and ceramic. Although plastic is not best, as most rats are chewers, and plastic is not chew-proof, so if they chew this, it won't last. Also, it's quite light, so easy to tip over. The best type of bowl you can use is ceramic. It's heavy, so less able to tip over, chew-proof, and keeps the food cooler. You will also need a large water bottle. Rats drink a lot of water and need huge water sources, so large sized bottles are needed, and make sure these are drip proof. Again, these come in materials of plastic or glass. Again, plastic isn't the best option as the same thing will happen if you have chewers, and glass is a much better option as it's chew proof and keeps the water cooler. Another essential you will need is bedding. There are some great beddings out there for rats, however there are always unsafe beddings out there for them too. Avoid using wood shavings, pine, cedar or any scented types. These have harmful chemicals and toxins which can easily irritate rats' respiratory systems, especially as they're very sensitive, and they can cause bumblefoot as well, so stay away from these. You also want to make sure you don't buy any beddings that are dusty, as dust is a very big irritant to their respiratory systems, and this will cause major breathing problems. So you're basically wasting your money on a bedding that will harm your rats. You want a bedding that you can buy that will be safe. So some great beddings I recommend are any paper pelleted forms. I highly recommend Back to Nature, and I have done a review on this, so click on the litter product to see the review. Plain shredded paper is good, just make sure it's soy safe ink and it's not dusty. Aspen shavings are safe, although I wouldn't say these soft bedding types are best as they're more likely to contain some dust. Even a small amount of dust can easily irritate rats' respiratory systems, although Carefresh Naturals seems to be free of dust. The Carefresh confetti and colours though are quite dusty, so I would avoid those ones, but if you have no option but to buy a soft type, I would suggest buying Carefresh Naturals. Or for some much cheaper options, you can use fleece. This is so cheap and makes a great base bedding, but also is very snuggly and it would make a great sleeping type bedding for rats too. Or for free options, you can use any big enough fabrics or soft materials you have at home. Just make sure they have no stuffing in them. Again, these can be used for beds. As for your sleeping material options, plain shredded paper is great and it's free. And many of you will have this in your home, just make sure it's soy safe ink and not dusty. Or for the last free option, you can use tissue paper, which everyone has in their house, so it's completely free, but also very snuggly for rats to sleep in. Next essential is of course diet, so you're going to need food. Getting the right food is very important The nutritional requirements for rats are protein 16 to 18%, fibre 5%, fat 5%. When considering the food for rats, it must have great variation. Most rats can get very easily bored if their food is not varied enough, so give them variety and lots of it. Some good UK mixes I recommend are Rat Rations Mix, Veggie Rat Mix as long as you take out the corn and alfalfa pieces. Dried corn has enzymes which react with rats' stomachs and if fed commonly can damage their livers, which can then cause liver cancer later on in rats' lives, so it must not be fed commonly and only in moderation. Also, alfalfa, rats cannot digest and it sits in their stomachs until a larger size, which can cause a huge blockage, so this ingredient is not safe at all. And Johnson's Rat Mix. Again, do the same for corn and alfalfa. As for US and Canadian unsafe brands, do not use any KT brands of food as they have bad quality ingredients and are very high in sugar. But I do recommend making a homemade rat mix, and the majority of rat owners do. For UK pellets, I recommend Pets at Home Rat Nuggets, Supreme Science Selective Rat Pellets, and Burgess Super Rat Royal Rat. And as for US and Canadian pellets, I suggest lab blocks such as Oxbow, Missouri and Harlan. These are also great for starter rats too. Now rats are omnivores, meaning they can have both meat and vegetables in their diet, so the second part of the diet should be filled on vegetables. This should make around 20% of a rat's diet, and a small handful should be given every day. However, if they are babies, then it should be gradually introduced, and not suddenly to avoid upsetting their stomachs. Start with a few pieces each day, and then build up from that. If you'd like to know more about safe foods and ones to be fed in moderation, then go click on Cookie to find out more about that. And as rats are omnivores, you can give them some meats or sources of protein such as chicken bones, hard-boiled eggs, yogurt, and cheese. But just make sure these are all fed in moderation. As for other sources of protein, this can include low-protein dog and cat treats and dog bones. Make sure the protein level is under 18%, as rats can't have too much protein because it can cause damage to their kidneys. These again must be fed in moderation. Another essential you will need is a hideout. There are tons of different hideouts you can buy for rats. They can range from plastic igloos, edible type huts and fleecy types. Another one I recommend are Sputniks. These are basically high hideouts. These are plastic and can hang from the bars, and these are a big hit with my rats. Or for a cheaper option, you can buy pretty much anything, flip it over and cut some holes in it, and this will turn it to a lovely hideout. Anything like cardboard boxes, wooden wine boxes, laundry baskets, pillowcases, etc. These are a lot more affordable option. Hammocks are great to use as rats love to sit high up in the air and take a nap or sleep in them and use them as beds. They also can encourage bar climbing as they'll have to climb to get to the hammock. But these don't have to be brought. These can be any spare home materials you have, like clothes with holes in, unused pillowcases and any fabrics or cloths you may have in. And they're very easy to make as hammocks. Just make sure any hideout you have for your rats is big enough for at least 2 rats, as rats like to snuggle and sleep together. Some prefer not to and others will, but you should always have that option for 2 anyway. Next essential are chews. Rats are rodents, so their teeth will constantly grow throughout their life, and it's vital they have chews to keep their teeth down, to prevent their teeth from overgrowing, which can lead to dental problems and stress. So it's best to give them a range of chews to make it more fun and interesting. You can give them different material ones such as mineral, vegetable based, and dog bones. Or you can get natural ones in materials of wood, coconut, cardboard, willow, loofah, sisal, seagrass, and many more. Another essential are toys. Rats are a pet that will get very easily bored if they have no toys. It can cause various problems such as behavioural problems, bar chewing, boredom and stress. So it's vital you have toys in their cage at all times. All rats need enrichment and plenty of it. You can buy many different toys from various pet shops and websites such as tunnels, hideouts, bridges, plastic or natural, hanging bird toys, dog toys, cat toys, make sure they don't contain any catnip, and lastly ferret toys. Or for a cheaper option you can make DIY toys. Things like Pringle tunnels, empty cardboard boxes, cereal boxes, shoe rack and wine racks make great fun toys but are way more cheaper. A great essential to have is money. Most likely there will be a point in time in your rat's life where they will get ill. Rats can be prone to various illnesses, so it's best to give them that little bit of money for those unexpected vet trips. It's also good to have some money for a few starter supplies when planning for them. You will need cleaning essentials such as a dustpan and brush if you use soft type bedding to scoop the bedding with. Or if you use fleece, then a washing machine is needed, and you should put the fleece in the wash 2 to 3 times a week. Pet disinfectant, or you can make your own vinegar and water solution to spray the cage with when cleaning, which should be done once a month. Cleaning wipes are great for using when spot cleaning, which should be done constantly through the week. Also a bath area or shower to rinse the spray off the supplies. And lastly, kitchen roll or a towel to dry the supplies with. Another important essential you will need is a play area. This can include an empty bathtub or some boards attached together, but make sure they are at least 3 foot high so the rats won't easily be able to jump out of them. Or an empty room, and even an empty bathroom. These are both great. You can spread the toys out everywhere and let them free range, and it also allows you to sit on the floor and interact with them. And the last essential you will need is a carrier. These come in great hand for vet trips if ever your rats get ill. So your rats will need veterinary assistance, and a carrier would be needed so you can safely transport your rats to the vet. Or for a cheaper option, you can buy a plastic box and have a ventilated grid on the side. Or you can even use a large cardboard box, but ensure there are plenty of holes all over so it's ventilated and they can breathe well. And make sure you supervise them at all times so they can't chew their way out. A great essential are litter trays. These are great to have in as rats can easily be litter trained, and it will keep your cage much more cleaner, so litter trays are always great to have. If you do decide to get a litter tray, then your next essential with that will obviously be litter. Pellet types are best to use and are absorbent and less dusty. For litter in UK, I'd recommend Back to Nature, and as for US and Canada, I would suggest using Carefresh Litter Plus, but I'd only recommend this as a litter and not bedding. And Fresh News is great. Just make sure you avoid using any clay or clumping types, as these are dusty and can easily irritate rats' respiratory systems. Scales. These are a great essential, but this is not a must. It can be quite helpful and come in great hand though. For example, if your rat has turned ill and is losing or gained some weight, you'll want to regularly check the weight of the rat, so scales are needed for this, and it's always a great essential to have in. And lastly, a great essential, treats. These have great benefits for rats and are brilliant for taming and bonding with your rats, and also teaching your rats tricks. You can reward them with a treat after they've performed the trick. Now it can be quite hard to find treats you can commonly feed, as most contain ingredients of dried corn, alfalfa, milk and milk preservatives, so if you are to buy these type of treats, make sure you feed them very sparingly. But completely avoid treats containing alfalfa, as they cannot digest this, so this is not safe. I also suggest you buy more treats without these ingredients, and any natural fruits and vegetable types are great. You can also buy human food ingredients from shops, and organic is best. So that's the video. Hope it helped those who bring home new rats and want to be prepared for them, or for those who want them and want to know what essentials they need. So that's the video guys. See you in the next one. Bye!